All right, welcome everyone to All Things Blockchain with OKX. Today is already the 2nd of September. It's only a few weeks to Token 2049 now in Singapore for those of us who are lucky enough to be going there. Tonight we're graced with two traders who run a daily X stream, Craig and Greeny, and we're also going to hear from DECA CEO Amy-Rose Goodey and Mahtab, Director of Operations at OKX Australia. My name is Matt Hooper, and we're going to be going through a few things tonight. I'm your chairperson and co-founder, and also going to be your moderator, fearless leader for tonight. All Things Blockchain, for those of you who don't know us, we're here every month. We do this on the first Tuesday every month, and we love to spread the good word of blockchain in a sort of community sense like this. We do education events. We focus on education more than sales, so you're definitely not going to be sold something tonight. Everybody's welcome to join. We're chain agnostic, and we're proud to be chain agnostic as well. We've got over 3,500 members now. Depending how you count our numbers, it's probably actually a few more than that, to be honest, and we are spreading our presence globally. We're running three side events actually up in Singapore around Token 2049, including with our good friends at, I was going to say She Connects. The events are called She Connects. It's called Evolve Her. I'll make an extra deliberate pause there to grab more attention. Behind All Things Blockchain, there is a team of a small army working to help us out. Big cheer for Renee Sampson, who's put on that spread again tonight. Where's Renee? There she is. Now that was meant to be the light LITE version. If that's the light version, I'm going to be impressed with the big one. So that was great. And also thanks to Jordan, who's manning the bar tonight. Big props for Jordan. And Dee, of course. Dee, who has made her way onto this slide, which is indeed an honour in itself. Well, a small one anyway, but thank you to Dee. Where is Dee? There she is. Yay, thank you to Dee. Thank you to all our volunteers. We've started an education hub. This has morphed a couple of times, but we're calling it an education hub now, and you can find a whole bunch of materials. We're building this out. It's going to be what they call evergreen. I love these terms that come up in maybe it's marketing speak or business management speak these days, but we're going to have evergreen content that's going to be available on the education hub, amongst a whole bunch of other things, things like recordings from these sessions and various other ways to interact. And we're trying to do that because we do the in-person quite well, but we also are looking to grow our online presence and keep up the interactions from, during the month where we're not actually seeing each other in person. Always looking for more contributors like Dee and Renee and Jordan. So if you do want to help out, let us know. Thanks to all of our sponsors. We wouldn't be able to do this without our sponsors. Big round of applause for all our sponsors, please. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, they really do help us put on these events. We've added a couple of new ones in Earnscape and Nexa recently. They're helping us out up in Singapore. But you'll see a whole range of different companies there, from law firms to exchanges to recruitment, graphic design, quite a range of sponsors, and we love working with all of them. We're really excited to announce a community partnership with CoinDesk. So we're going to be actually, we've got a few free tickets to give away if you come and approach Danielle and me for Consensus in Hong Kong, which is in February, and I think it's in Miami in May. Danielle, I think is correct. Certainly, yeah, May 2026. But we're very thrilled to be coming on as a community partner for CoinDesk and taking that ATB brand a little bit more globally as well. For certainly, actually both, Consensus in Hong Kong and also for Miami, you can get a 15% discount by using that code ATB15 if you do happen to be heading up that way. All of these codes tonight are legit and have been tested. We're not going to be taking you off to a dodgy site, so you can trust our QR codes unless the Canva's been hacked in the last 24 hours. But look, we work with various collaboration partners. Evolve Her, who I already mentioned. Evolve Her is a social impact project headed by one of our founders, Danielle Marie, who's here in the front row. Stand with Crypto, we're going to be doing a lot more with. You probably know Stand with Crypto. And also Australian Crypto Convention. We'll be actually having a side event the night before Oz CryptoCon, and we've also got a She Connects event in the convention itself on the Sunday morning. We do a whole raft of things here at ATB. One of them is the community newsletter. This goes out on the first day of every month, and we try to highlight events in the Australian space, not just in decentralised ledger tech, but also in AI and also in other parts of emerging technologies, and we highlight events around the world as well. You can keep in touch with us there. That's a paragraph. That QR code is going to go to paragraph.com. I've got a lot to get through, so I am going to keep clipping along. We are proud to work with Advanced Queensland, who help us by providing this space. And as I was mentioning to a few who have come from Sydney, there are a number of co-working offices here over several levels, and we're really thrilled that Advanced Queensland supports the entrepreneurial and startup scene here in Southeast Queensland in particular. So big props and thanks to Advanced Queensland. Where would we be without our AV guy, Matt, sitting over there at his little desk? Matt's from Pixel Castle. He's been quite a find, and he seems to put up with my dad jokes, which helps things definitely. Events coming up, we've announced today, next month we've got an event with AMXC or MEXC, depending how you say it. Even Joe can't tell me how to say it. That exchange will be our event sponsor for this event next month. And we're going to be having the sex versus dex conversation next month. We've got so many events we can't actually go through them one by one. Jump on our Luma, which is this QR code that is trustworthy also. Jump on our Luma and you can follow all the story there. We've got events going on in Singapore, Melbourne, Sydney. We've got events online that are coming up. I'm talking to Matt Pablocki, who's the new GM of Binance Australia NZ next week, actually, in a podcast-style chat with Liam O'Doherty as well. Whole bunch of things. Danielle's also been running. What week are we up to in the boot camp? About 6? I've lost track. It's like trying to track school terms. I ask my children, what school term are we up to? Well, 6, 7? What week are we up to? We are up to week 6. I got it right. Of 8 weeks of the Crypto Basics boot camp. And you must be getting into the depth now, are you? It's not so much the basics. Weren't you going hard as well? Oh, okay. It's always the basics. Okay. Upcoming women's focus events through Evolve Her. Lots of things going on, including up in Singapore. Again, check out, that's a different Luma calendar, that one. We have a 10% discount if you want to register for Oz CryptoCon, and I think their tickets are about to go up, or they may have just, but I'm pretty sure they're about to go up, so it's always a good time to jump on Oz CryptoCon, which is in Sydney again this year at the ICC. And of course, we're really looking forward to the week after that, going down to Melbourne to the Blockies, hosted by our venerable friends at Decca, from whom we're going to hear tonight in the form of Amy-Rose. That is a registration code for the Blockies, blockies.com.au. So, oh yeah, if anybody's in the space, community leader, we should get Amy-Rose to come up and actually talk about the awards night and the different categories, but there are a number, including Organisation of the Year, and I'm going to fail here, but what are they quickly, Amy-Rose? Organisation of the Year, Community Leader, there are 12, we won't go through all of them. We'll spare you that. Check it out, blockies.com.au. And with that, I've started to ramble, so it's time to hand over to Mahtab, Operations Director from OKX Australia, and Amy-Rose Goodey from Decca. Yep, these are the chairs. Yep. You comfy here? All right. Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
There you go.
Test. Oh. Can camera hear me in the back? Sounds good. All right, nice. Oh. All right, thanks, Amy-Rose, for joining us today and having this chat with me.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So I guess just to get started, maybe from a macro perspective, the industry is getting a lot of attention right now, especially media attention from, reg developments to new tech cycles. From your vantage point, what do you think is really driving the momentum in 2025?
My view is that there is finally a recognition of the infrastructure and capability of the infrastructure. We, back in, the early days, it was blockchain was going to solve all the world's problems. And now there's an infrastructure solution, and it's not just about crypto and the applications. It's about efficiencies, it's about productivity, it's about real world use cases. So that's an acknowledgement globally, and Australia's just getting a whiff of it at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess on that train of thought with Australia and, I guess we're catching up, where do you see Australia's role in the global economy? Global digital economy as it's an evolving space. And I guess more specifically, what do we need to do in Australia to remain competitive and actually have a voice on that global stage?
I think we have a really good opportunity to at least keep up. We are not leading at the moment, unfortunately. We do have globally the trust in our regulations. We're a prosperous country. We have talent here. We have multiple great industries here that thrive. What we can do is take a step forward. Perhaps we could support innovation a little bit more. We could provide that regulatory framework. We could look outside our own jurisdiction and take some notes and perhaps copy and paste in some way different jurisdictions. So I think the first thing we need to do is just move forward, even just an inch. I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, you mentioned there's other jurisdictions that we could potentially role model from. I guess, is there any specific jurisdiction you think is maybe the gold standard right now globally?
I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all, particularly for Australia. We're a different beast. The way that we approach regulation is obviously very different, very slow. But I think there is an opportunity to pick what works in different jurisdictions and what we can apply here. There is this age-old, we continue talking about fit-for-purpose regulation. And I'm sorry to talk about regulation, but it's front and centre in my mind every single day. And it is a definite roadblock for this industry and certain businesses that are operating. I just think that for us to thrive, we need to take from those jurisdictions who put innovation and the builders at the front, as well as consumer protection.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I guess the regulation space is moving a bit slower than we'd hoped in Australia, the technologies and the applications and the use cases are moving incredibly fast, right? So I guess how do you see, personally, dealing with change fatigue from all these rapid changes, and how can teams and businesses in Australia here, build that sort of same resilience to not burn out as we go on this journey?
I can see a lot of familiar faces in the room, people who have been here for a long, long time. So you could probably put that to the room as to how to not die on the inside every day while being shot at multiple times from anyone who's got a gun. But essentially, my advice is not to try and absorb every single thing that's thrown at you. Everyone has their own interests, everyone has their own capabilities, and in my bubble that I'm in every day, I pick and choose things that apply to what I'm interested in, which is obviously regulation at the moment, sorry. But there's other people out there, you're in a role that is outside of the industry perhaps, and you're looking to move into the industry. You might be a project manager, you might be an accountant, you might be in compliance. So pick something that applies to you, that means something to you, and absorb that every day, rather than trying to keep up with the constant bombardment with everything that's going on. And it's hard to do.
Yeah, no, of course. And, I think you said earlier as well, when we were chatting separately, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? And I think everyone in this room believes that blockchain is here to stay. Really about finding that pace for longevity. So I know DECA has recently done a joint research project with the DFCRC and found up to $19 billion in potential productivity gains from DeFi adoption. That's obviously a very big headline figure. So from that report or that research, what do you think is the most important takeaway for businesses and policymakers alike?
I don't know if I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's probably the acknowledgement of what everyone in this room might already know, that the technology that we are so maybe obsessed and passionate about is actually going to solve real world problems and bring efficiencies. So I think that for me, the takeaway from this is just the first piece of research as well. This is a research project that is ongoing until the end of the year. So there's a lot of data to be uncovered and across a lot of different industry verticals as well. But it is the acknowledgement, I think, finally, that leveraging from the technology for the benefit of the Australian economy is probably the best approach.
Yeah, of course. And, I think everyone in this room is quite aware of, there's a lot of real world applications and there's a lot of things already being solved by blockchain. But I guess out of, the more emerging use cases that are coming up, what's got you most excited?
I think I'm looking forward to the eradication of paper and just the acceptance that everything is going digital. Well, let's not just accept it, right? That's multi-layered. Please don't come at me on that. But we have a global digital economy and we also have a global clunky economy. And both of these are very separate. We have trade, imports and exports that are currently consuming billions of tonnes of paper every single year. Recently, DECA released a proactive policy paper. We did some research with XTC Network actually on trade digitalisation. The efficiencies that leveraging from DLT can bring will, I guess, when it comes to saving the planet and the environment and reducing the number of paper-based trade documents. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the collateral consequence of leveraging from a technology that hasn't been adopted yet and what the world will look like when we've got more trees.
Yeah, that's massive. And it's not always something that's always at the front of mind of the environmental, benefits from these technologies and the adoptions. And, I think we're not, everyone's sort of in this together in order to move forward, especially in Australia, right? We need to all work together. So I guess where do you see the biggest opportunities for cross-sector collaboration for opportunities on emerging on-chain technologies?
I think the world's your oyster when you come together, when two or more are gathered together. I don't know if you've heard that one. But at the moment, we are moving into as an industry, a position where we're assembling. In the past, my view was that the industry was quite fragmented. There was a lot of competition, a little bit of infighting here and there, but there's a real maturation happening, which is really refreshing to see. What happens when DECA and OKX come together and All Things Blockchain and OKX come together and everyone builds together? You have exponential growth. You can't stop that machine. And that signals to the rest of the world that this is, obviously the technology speaks for itself, but that there is a united front that is here to recognise and to support a technology that, if you're willing to adopt it and leverage from it, then you have, millions of people here to support you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of that machine and getting involved in that machine, you've had quite a interesting career journey, and you're now at the forefront, in the crypto space. For someone who wants to take their first step into, crypto or blockchain in a more professional capacity, what's some practical advice that you might give?
You have to be in the next 10 years able to adapt to change. The job that you have now, or the role that you have now, you're going to have like 30 different jobs, and that's probably going to double because it'll be, micro jobs, or you have that freelancing role or whatever. The world of employment, the world of careers is going to change. So the ability to move with that is more important now than ever. I don't know, $100 that, you're not all going to be sitting here in the same job in 5 years. No, you are not the same person I met a long, long time ago. You're very different. This is very different let's not bring that up, but we've all evolved and we're all grow. Rude. And don't bring out those videos.
No, very, very good point. And I think well framed as well. So I guess thinking a bit ahead then, right? So in let's say 5 years' time, the way this industry is moving, like what skills do you think are going to be in high demand, and how can people, prepare themselves?
I think it goes to my earlier point. Whatever strong suit that you have now, whatever skill you have now, just bring that. The transferable skills are going to be very helpful. Obviously, the soft skills and that adaptation. But the transferable skills, if you're an accountant like you were, and you got bored with that because it's a bit boring, and you moved into Exchangeville, I think just understand what your strength is, rather than trying to be something or do something, and I'm not, maybe I am dumping on universities, but I mean, even that's a bit outdated. But, you just choose something that you really love because you're going to need something that you are passionate about over the next decade or so, where everything is in limbo.
Yeah, no, completely agree as well. Like you mentioned, I used to be an accountant, now we're in crypto, and I know you used to be in construction as well, and now look at you. We've all come to crypto in different ways. So no, definitely echo that. So then I guess moving on to, we're here tonight with the community of Southeast Queensland. What role do you think like local hubs like this can play in shaping the digital narrative, digital asset narrative on, a national scale for Australia?
Just continue to assemble, just rub shoulders as much as you can, come as close together, learn. I mean, I was talking to Press earlier and he was just downloading all the information that I need for the things that I don't hear every single day. So human connection is important. These events are important. Coming together is important. Did that answer your question? Did I go on a tangent again?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely. And then I guess just to close out, how can organizations, we touched on it a bit earlier, but how can organizations like OKX and DECA and the other organizations that were on that sponsor wall really work together to shape the industry's future? What do you want to see happening? What do you want to see us doing?
I want to see everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, if that's possible. We need to see some movement on a couple of fronts, particularly with assisting the government, educating the government to recognise that there are tools available, there's technologies available to advance their goals, which is the productivity front. But we can get in front of our local members, we can get in front of, and Stand With Crypto does this as well. Mm-hmm. But there's an education requirement at the moment, and if we all do our, send one pages, send info sheets, just for those who are in government at the moment, there will be some bills that will pass their tables in the coming months, and they will need to vote on those. And the success of this industry will be dependent on how they vote. And so I think that education gap that we're seeing now could hinder that progress, and I certainly don't want to see that.
No, of course not. And maybe if you just jump forward 12 months in your mind, what would success look like in your view? What step change within 12 months in this industry to you would be yes, that was a big success?
I think that the bill to go through Parliament for digital asset platform reforms and that to become law, because then we can finally move on to the next stage. It's been 10 years, and so everyone's just really wanting to move forward, irrespective of what it looks like. We just want to see a little bit of movement.
Yeah, no, perfect. Thanks for sharing your insights. I think that's all the time we had, but it's lovely to chat with you, and hopefully, the networking that continues after this, hopefully everyone else has a chance to speak to you, and definitely thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we are going to now switch gears maybe and have a look at the world of trading with Craig and Greeny. Come on up, Craig and Greeny. So I'll make sure that the clicker here is working. And you're going to go to your slides straight away?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to bring up.
Slide you want? I don't mind.
Over to you. The clicker should be in action.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, don't. All right, testing. You guys hear me at the back? Yeah, sweet. Amazing. Well, obviously, for those people who maybe don't know who we are GC Crypto, which is basically Greeny and Craig. And firstly, I just want to say a massive shout out to people from obviously GTG or people who watch our stream every day. Thank you so much for coming. We truly do appreciate it. But a little bit of an intro, Craig, I suppose, to start. But we run a live stream every day. We basically got connected in crypto just through group chats way back in 2023. And basically from that point, we realized, look, there's a massive gap in Australia for crypto content, for crypto education, crypto trading, and understanding that from a real sort of beginner level. So we kicked off a stream way back in 2023, and from there GC Crypto kind of evolved. I traveled a lot last year, and it wasn't until we got back where we really set in stone a consistent sort of show. So that's a bit of background about GC Crypto. Anything else you want to, I suppose there is the who are we, but yeah, do you want to add on to that?
Yeah, look, it's funny. I thought you might put those photos of us when we first started, when we were both,
I should have, yeah.
we were both very hairy and very different looking back then. We sort of sharpened up a little bit since then. But yeah, Greeny and I, well, first of all, thank you for everyone for coming along and, spending some time with us. That's great. Big shout out to All Things Blockchain and OKX as well. Look, yeah, we found each other kind of by mistake, which I think is kind of sometimes the best way to kind of form an alliance. So Greeny and I were kind of, trading, not together, but we found ourselves in the same group chats. And, you sort of, I got into it in 21. Greeny was earlier than that. So Greeny was a cycle before me. So he's a bit, even though I'm the old man of the group, he's the old man in crypto. But you sort of, after being in the industry a little while, if I can call it that, you start to recognize how people operate, the words they use, the things they do, the way they move, if they have the best intentions in heart for the people they're speaking to. And Greeny was, not to blow smoke up his butt too much, but he was one of those people that I quite quickly recognised as one of those people. And I like to think of myself as one of those people. So then, we spoke about it for quite some time. We said, hey man, we should get streaming together. And I didn't take action. Greeny's the action taker of the group. I'm the procrastinator. And then about a year later, I think it was about a year later after we first said it, we sort of thought, let's just bloody do this. And we just got streaming and, had a good chemistry. And the weirdest thing was people actually tuned in, which you never know whether, I came from a totally different background. Greeny was a teacher. I was a personal trainer for a long time. Not a group fitness instructor, so I'm not used to holding one of these. I was one-on-one, so this is a bit weird. But yeah, we came from very different backgrounds, but I think both of us, I was PTing because I wanted to help people. Greeny, I'm going to assume, was a teacher because he wanted to help people. And yeah, we found this crypto thing by mistake, and yeah, we started streaming. And I think my lucky stars, I found a half decent human to do this with, because along the journey, there's definitely people with bad intentions in the space. So yeah, that was we sort of fell into this by mistake, and then it just never really stopped, did it?
No, and I suppose to build on that, like what we actually do, and for maybe people who haven't seen us before, we just live stream at 9 a.m. every single day in Australia, which is conveniently 7 p.m. in America. So we have a big following across the globe, thousands of viewers now that tune in daily to our show. It started, as Craig said, and we talked about before, way back in 2023 with literally about 10 to 20 viewers. So it's come a long way. And then obviously more recently, we wouldn't be here without our partnership with OKX, so massive shout out to them. And obviously we partnered actually with another platform, Yeet, and GTG, the trading group that we're both part of, and a few community members are here tonight as well. So thank you to those guys who have shown up. But yeah, it's been a journey, and I suppose we might touch a little bit around what we kind of usually do on our show. So mainly macro sort of focus, from BTC, from ETH, from Solana, to absolute degenerate sort of stuff. So altcoins, meme coins, airdrops, NFTs, ordinals, Craig, which that's a conversation we'll save for another time. But yeah, we basically cover everything, because I think for us, crypto is opportunity, and it's a lot of volatility, right? And so if you're someone that maybe doesn't understand that there's so many daily opportunities, you're really missing out on what crypto can actually be. So we focus very much on the active side of crypto. So we talk about trends, about market price action. We both, I'm very technical analysis based, and you've learned to become technically gifted as well. So as you see here on the screen, we've got a range of different charts that we always like to refer to basically in our daily show and in the GTG community is just understanding it from a macro sense so that you can form a bias on a low time frame sense. And I know a lot of people want to chase 100x meme coins, but the realistic perspective that we like to take is that wealth takes a long time to build, and it's about consistent processes, a consistent trading plan, and compounding your knowledge, not only your portfolio, but compounding your knowledge over time so that when you get to a difficult decision, when you're super euphoric or you're super, like in recent times where we've seen a bit of a pullback where you're like, well, is this a weak trade and is this going to run it back, or is this something I should cut and save that liquidity for a better sort of opportunity? So that's what we really focus on, really, and we do. We dive into a range of different sort of indicators. So maybe you can discuss some of those ones there too.
Yeah, I thought maybe I'd just zoom out a touch as well. And one of the other reasons we sort of got together before we get into the technical stuff was I remember when I first got into the space and, being a fresh guy or girl, it was very intimidating. And I remember going into the Discord groups and, it was quite a macho, male dominant space at that time, and it probably still is. But I remember even being a male in the space and being like, holy crap, this is quite like intense and was quite scary. And I never sort of forgot that. And it reminded me of, when people first started in the gym, it's a very scary thing to walk in for the first time. And sort of crypto reminded me of that. So I thought, well, one of the ways I can give back to the world, but I always wanted to, leave some, maybe not a legacy, but leave it in a better place, is, help the people, do better than when I first started, because obviously I had to learn through pain. Most of us have to learn through pain, unfortunately, but I hope through education and teaching through my mistakes the roads I traveled on, hopefully I could help people or other people avoid those pitfalls, which I know Greeny's very much the same.
Yeah. Our goal has always been to fast track your journey. And again, like Craig said, I've been in this industry since 2016 and I've had a lot of, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've been scammed a lot of money. I've had a lot of failures, but I've had a lot of wins along the way, which a lot of people can relate to in the crowd. But my goal and what our goal has always been is to help fast track your understanding, your knowledge, so that you don't fall into the same mistakes that I did for 7 years. So it's like, okay, let's fast track your journey so it's not this long-winded journey and you've missed probably one of the best opportunities maybe of our generation at this point of time. So again, just to dive into some sort of trends that we love to discuss, as I said before, like we do take a big macro look, and that one bottom left is basically the accumulation of whales and how many whales are currently owning 100 plus more Bitcoin. And as you can see, I used to use the $1,000 plus Bitcoin ownership. That literally is unattainable really these days. So this is a much more reliable indicator of whales, and what we've seen is for the first time it's aggressively gone up since about 2014. So it just shows you that institutions are buying, it's showing you that hedge funds are buying, it's showing you that countries are buying. So this has really changed my perception of at least Bitcoin and the industry of crypto, right, as a sub $4 trillion market cap industry. Like, man, 50 trill, 100 trill, who knows, in the years to come. Then we love, we actually interview a few people as well. It's probably a good point to discuss as well, Craig. You can touch on that, but the bottom left down there.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the coolest things we get to do on the stream is obviously invite like-minded people, whether they're builders, whether they're yeah, that's a good one. We've got a few other influencers, things like that. We've got Betty down the bottom right. She is the creator of Dead Fellas, which is a NFT collection. She's a Australian. She's Sunny Coast, I believe. So we've had her on stream. So one of the cooler things, one of the things that I personally always wanted to do was give a voice to the builders of the space, to the artists, because what I found was, especially on X, for people that are familiar or use X a lot, which I do because that's where all the crypto stuff is generally, was a lot of people in our position tended to focus on clickbait type stuff whereby it was just controversy and not a lot was being taught, and it was just a lot of what I consider trash or nothing that you really, it's just Jerry Springer for those people old enough to remember what that show was like. So I decided before I met Greeny, I wanted to be able to have a platform whereby I could elevate. I was always into art. I'm not an artist. I'm hopeless with it. That's why I put it on me. I can't draw, but I like it on me. My wife's an artist. I love that about her. But I wanted to give artists a voice. I want to give devs a voice. They typically get quite quiet. I'm the loud one. So I was like, look, let me help you. So that's one thing I'm really proud of is that we've curated a space now where we can get these people on who perhaps get drowned out by the shillers and the people that come on saying, look, let's hit 1,000x today. And most people just get rinsed and lose money.
But I think to add to that point, what really makes us appealing compared to a lot of maybe shows out there is that we're Australian. And unless I'm missing a big show, there's no Australians that you see consistently out there putting out content that's educational, but also interviewing some of the top people in the world. So it's an absolute privilege, as Craig said, to have conversations that enlightens us as well, let alone the crowd that get to view our show. So we'll move on to... Anything else you want to touch on there?
I mean, one thing I would bring up about that is one of the things Greeny was alluding to there was just some really good, well, I consider them good, and obviously we never want to say it's financial advice, but some really good indicators. And I think one of the main things we try and teach or educate, or some of the pitfalls that I wasn't appreciative of back in 21 was some really simple indicators, like things like TA, which I know some people will be like, oh, that's a load of rubbish, each to their own. But over time, you may learn to appreciate it. Maybe not. Everyone's got their different flow or different way of trading. But I wanted to show people, Greeny and I wanted to show people that it doesn't need to be overwhelming. It doesn't need to be scary. And I think a lot of people in the outside world, normies, you might call them, or whatever you want to call them, just one of the blockages is it's scary, and to put up your hand and say I don't understand something's scary for most people, right? Myself included. So we wanted to try educate, but in a simple layman's way terms, that we weren't just kept throwing out jargon just to sound smart. And that was probably the hardest part, was actually we needed to actually understand this to explain it.
100%. And as we said, we've both been through a journey, but the beautiful part is, like, being on a live stream it's super interactive. So we have a chat, right? And many people will chat to us throughout the show. And it's really funny. Sometimes the most active the chat is, it's not even a crypto topic. It's about healthcare, or it's about
taxes or gym workouts or something.
So it's beautiful because we can talk about normal topics, we can talk about crypto topics, and engage with people who have layman questions right there on the spot, so they can get a response from us straight away. And I think that's the beautiful part of it as well.
And also, hopefully, we can encourage more Australians to get into the space. Obviously, we're very American dominated. I mean, Greeny would know our stats better. What our viewer stats? What is it?
Yeah, it's like 30% American, 5 to 10% Australian.
So very small. So we'd love to grow the Australian market. I mean, I come into the space thinking this is freedom for me. That's one of the reasons I got into crypto. I love what it stands for. So for me, I guess it's a little bit personal as well. It's not just finance for me. It's more than that. And I know that can sound so cheesy, but it's the truth. And I think you probably feel the same way. I think it's a vehicle to the biggest chance of a life raft we have that I've seen. I remember the .com bubble. I was too young to take advantage of it, unfortunately. And then I saw crypto come around, and I was like, oh, I reckon I get another go at this.
Yeah. Are we 6:15 or are we 6? Easy. No, just because it depends on the flow. Yeah, easy. Okay, cool. Thank you. We will do a Q&A, so please start thinking about some questions you might have. It can be anything. Anything, and we can, if it's an ordinal, we can talk about that, even though you probably don't want to talk about that right now. But yeah, anything we can talk about. So start thinking, and we do have merch giveaways thanks to OKX as well, with partnership from us today. Stu wanted us to really talk about trading psychology, because I think this is something that at least I personally deal with, being the founder of GTG, which is the trading group that we both are in, and shout out to a few members, Aussies, who here is one of the traders as well, and Ren and a few other people around, Ryan as well, and Co. So thanks so much for joining. But I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that you have to be adaptable over time with trading, and particularly in crypto, because it's just so volatile, right? And while being adaptable, you need to then have an absolute foundational sort of reliant plan that you execute when the times are hard and when the times are good. Because as we've seen more recently, I know a lot of people have been coming to us and saying our bags are down 50%, this meme coin hasn't pumped, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, did you have a plan going into that into that trade or into that investment opportunity? And we're always like, well, we sort of again, not financial advice, but these are some of the things that we've learned through our own journey that we like to try and execute this time around, being Craig's second cycle and my third cycle, where we want to walk away profitable, right? That's the goal of what we are basically all trying to do, right? So some of those sort of topics that we talk about every single day is like, if you don't take profits, someone else will. And I think that's a big one for me. And it is hard because obviously as you grow a bit of an influence as well, people, particularly on crypto Twitter, on YouTube and all that, do like to throw a bit of shade our way. But at the end of the day, if you don't take profit, someone else will. And that's reality. So that's a conversation we like to have pretty frequently. Cutting a weak trade, I spoke about that earlier, and accepting that you will lose. No one wins 100%. So we know that. I acknowledge that. I'll say it right here. I don't win 100%, and I lose money. But that's the journey of making money, is accepting that you will lose your trades as well. I mentioned wealth building is about consistency and compounding earlier as well, and maybe you can finish on the last three.
Yeah, let me just see if I can flow from where you. This is Greeny's writing, so plan with the trade the plan. Yeah, so I mean, basically, what to flow on from Greeny was saying is you got to have a plan when you're trading, and that's something that I definitely lacked when I first got started. And that's actually one of the things that I learned through Greeny quite a lot. One of the main ones on there with Greeny actually mentioned was knowing when to cut a weak trade. That's probably one of the hardest things for me, because it's almost admitting failure or you were wrong, but very important to do. So where we're up to is obviously plan the trade the plan, and then stick to the plan. So it's one thing to make a plan, but you've actually got to stick to it. That's the next part. The next part. So the next thing to kind of train yourself to do is obviously sell euphoria and buy fear. That's one of the tougher things to do. Obviously, you do want to zoom out and look at the macro market and make sure when you're buying the fear, it's not fear that's going to turn into more fear and more fear and more fear and more fear. So there's a little bit to it, but certainly training your mind that when you feel euphoric, or you start calling up your friends, telling them how much money you just made, probably take some profit at that point. Anytime you're bragging, take some profit. And these are all things I learned from Twitter.
I mean, we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
Even me 3 weeks ago, I was guilty of that. So.
Yeah. So I still make mistakes, but these are things to stay close to your heart. So obviously buy the fear, sell the greed. So we're in fear at the moment. Could be an opportunity. And then probably the last one is probably one of the more important ones, if I could highlight that. For me personally, this has worked out really well, and that's take profits at a 2x. So you'll see a lot of people that you can be easily influenced online, and if you were to jump on Twitter, you'd believe that everyone was a gazillionaire and everyone was hitting million X's, and I can assure you they're not, because that's why they're still there. If they hit a million X, they'd be outright on an island. And they're not. And the amount of traders that I was trading with in 22 and 23 that are no longer there because they didn't take profit. And some of these guys were in their early 20s and turned, I mean, I know one guy who turned on Pepe. He got into it under $1 million market cap. He turned 1 ETH into about 50 million. Which is a lot of money for someone under 30. He did take profit, though. So that's a good news story. But there's a lot of people that didn't do that. I don't have a story as good as that, unfortunately, for me, but I definitely have stories where I didn't take profit and I got severely hurt. So now what I tend to do is I plan my trade. As soon as it hits a 2x, my initials come out, and then the rest is a free ride. It's on the house from there. So once you're playing with house money, you tend to also trade better because emotions lessen. You've got your initials out, so your house money's back in your little kitty, and then you can go to Valhalla. You can go for the 1000x from there, or at a 3x, you can say, right, I'm going to take another 30%. Basically, everyone's got a different plan, and I don't want to speak for anyone here and say you should do this or that, but certainly taking profit at a 2x is probably a strategy that...
Yeah, particularly on the riskier side of the market is more the issue there. Like, I mean, again, not financial advice. It's always, look, there are long-term investments, there's short-term investments, there's high-risk aspects to your portfolio, there's low-risk aspects to your portfolio. If you don't have a trading plan, you're gambling. It's pretty much as simple as that, and that's what we try and educate around every single day. I think we'll open it up to the floor and we'll give some merch away, but our contact details are up there. So again, the Linktree just basically has all of our partnership deals, and I mean, if you watch our content and clip it, you actually can get paid from us as well. So that's incentive that we have on there as well. So you can check us out there at GC Crypto at the link tree. But again, if you want to send us an email or reach out over X or watch us live, we're live on YouTube or Kick every single day. Abstract, we won't talk about that. It's very niche. But yeah, Kick is probably a really good place to go because that's a streaming platform. You can follow us there for free and same as YouTube and watch us there. So that's probably it. But I think we'll open up to the floor now. And how many do we have? We have 4. Excellent. Okay. So we have 4 giveaways, or 4 merch giveaways, sorry. I suppose so. We'll pass the mic around, and I think maybe Craig can. I'll put that under Craig. Craig can delegate the merch packs to people. But yeah, or Stu can. Yeah,
Stu's got it. Yeah.
But right, we'll start in the middle because that's where the mic is.
Well, Margaret, now we've got a couple here. You're going to have to duke it out as to who's going to ask the question, I think. Let's give it to Margaret this time.
My question is, where do you think the market's going at the moment? Do you think the top's in, or do you think we've got for Bitcoin, or do you think we've still got a bit to wait?
It's a great question, isn't it? That's the $1 million question too. I might let Greeny go first. I can go first if you like.
Yeah,
I think we go way higher, man. I'm joking. Is that the right answer, everyone? Yeah, not financial advice. No, I think to answer your question a bit more sensibly, I think looking at TA, technical analysis, zooming out, I think it's still a macro bull market until that structure's broken. I think we haven't seen the high, but it could be. But I don't think currently there's anything telling us that it's done personally, but things can change, so we have to be adaptable.
That's probably a half an hour answer for me, to be honest. Just purely from like the macro analysis and the charts that I could talk your ear off about. We're in an interesting space. I know a lot of people, I'll reverse this question and say we've been in bull market since about September, October 2023. So we are officially nearly in a 2-year bull cycle. If we go further than mid-October, that'll be above the average from halving to the all-time high compared to the 2 previous cycles. So that's sort of the gauge that at least I'm working with for the 4-year cycle. We front run a lot this cycle. We set a new all-time high pre-halving for the first time in history, again, on the back of institutions. So I would hazard a guess that Bitcoin itself could be very much on its own trajectory. You could throw Ethereum into that now with the stablecoin conversation with the ETFs. You could throw some of those other tokens out there that will also follow down that route. But the majority of the altcoins, yeah, look, they're probably not going to come back. Who knows? They might. But at least in my opinion, they struggled this cycle because it was false promises from last cycle, right? Whereas this cycle, people have really seen through the BS and they're like, well, does this actually have utility? Is this worth something? And should I invest and trade into that asset? So to answer your question, I think we've got a bit to go. We obviously have rate cuts ideally coming for America, which obviously does introduce liquidity into the system maybe in 6 months' time. But yeah, global liquidity slowed down a little bit, which is very correlated to Bitcoin as well. So there's a lot that, again, as I said, I could talk you off for half an hour about that. But I think we do. I personally think a higher low here, and then probably one more high is what I'd at least be looking at this point in time. Great.
Thank you. Good evening, boys, and thank you very much. Great information, and I'm happy that I've discovered you. So I'll go and have a look at the content straight away. Quick question is, do you believe there is a strategy or a technique that we can employ to achieve successful trades in a bear market? And would that be exclusively by the dip? And considering a lot of the new involvement of institutionalized finance, is there perhaps something there new that we didn't know before 2024? Thank you.
The first one is, I think, again, I kind of sell GTG, which is my trading community, and Craig's part of it, Aussie's part of it, and a few people here are part of it, as a group that, look, makes opportunity, makes money, talks about markets in all market conditions. And I think that's a big separation from a lot of people who can make money in a bull market or in an up-only market. Like, it's very easy to call a token now and it goes up in a week or 2 weeks or a month, right? Because we're in a bull market and there's a lot of liquidity and that's naturally going to go up, right? But as you say, how can you make money in a bear market? And to answer your question, it comes down to, again, a range of things, but your trading regime, what are you trying to achieve? What's your time frame that you're trading on? What's your risk? What's your portfolio structure? What's all these sorts of things, conversations that I like to have with people in the community. And to answer your question, the reason I love to swing trade is because you can always swing trade. Like, you can short the market, you can long the market, you can buy the market and swing trade it on just spot, whatever it is. And I love that because you can't trade meme coins, NFTs, ordinals, airdrops in all market conditions. So those people who are making money in that aspect are going to really struggle when the market doesn't have as much liquidity around. So yeah, there's certain ways, again, that you can learn to trade, but it comes down to just what we discussed earlier, having a consistent trading plan, keeping it as simple as possible. Like, the indicators I use are very simple, just price structure, support resistance, volume, Fibonacci retracements, RSI, and divergences. It's about as simple as you can get. And yeah, I think that's it. And do you want to answer the second part?
Yeah, the only thing I really would add to that is the bear market for me, in my experience, was the time where it was the most opportunity. So I made the most money coming out of the bear market into the bull, because I'd been accumulating, for instance, for example, Ray, Greeny, what were we buying it at?
Yeah, we got between 20 cents and $1 and it ran to $8.50 or something.
So, and that was within about a year, something like that. So I kind of feel like with that question, if your time horizon's longer than, say, 6 months, you're going to be fine. If it's in a bear market, if your time horizon's shorter than that, yes, it may continue lower. I think the most important thing is to decide the most important thing is A, your entry, and B, what it is you're buying. I love Bitcoin. I'm sure most people in this room do. So I personally will try and acquire as much of that as possible. And then with other trades, for instance, Ray, Greeny and I theorized that Solana was going to have a great bull run. So Ray was our secondary play, being one of the main dexes for Solana. Thankfully, Solana ended up taking off and going berserk because of meme coins, and then Ray giga-pumped, and we took an advantage there. So what I like about the bear market is things go quiet, and there's less people, there's less influencers, there's less noise, there's less fake vaporware companies, and you really get to see who sticks around and who the real, I guess, traders are, who the real companies are, and you can build from there. And I think the second part of your question was that to do with the institutions, and will that change things? That's a tricky one. That's such a tricky one. And I mean, I wrestle with that myself. And maybe you're asking if the 4-year cycle now is obsolete. I'm going to say no, myself personally. I think Greeny might argue with me a little bit there. We're a bit different in that sort of thing. But once again, I am flexible, I'm adaptable, and if I'm wrong, I'll pivot. In saying that, with the ETFs and that sort of thing, it's looking pretty bloody good. So, but I'm excited for the bear market. I wasn't last time. I was terrified by it. This time, having been through once before, I'm sort of making sure I've got enough on the sideline. That's where we preach take profits, because that's where I believe we're really going to eat. And that's where I made, I'm not free yet. I'm not retired yet, but I did very well in the bear market. That's because I stuck around. So I'm so glad I did, because so many people left.
To give credit to your great reply, I actually bought in the bull market in 2021 at the peak. So I went through the very painful, I was down 38,000, and to go back to the short time horizon, long time horizon, I kept the long horizon as my, my polar star. And obviously, as you would imagine, now it's a different story. But thank you for your reply.
And has it since improved?
Well, for sure, since 2021, there's been a big change up.
Awesome. Perfect.
First off, boys, how good do you look in the OKX t-shirt? So
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Great praiser.
We'll pay you
I've
later.
got a double layer question. Could you please explain in your terms the difference between trading and investing, in both in terms of mindset and strategy? And the second part of that question is, could you also explain the importance of the trading, the plan, or I should say plan the trade when it comes to trading, but also when it comes to portfolio building?
Greeny, that's your one, man.
Probably going to forget your second question, so I'm going to have to refer back to it. But trading is more of an active approach. However, you can still trade high timeframes. And as you know, I am someone that looks, and people laugh at me, but I look at the monthly, I look at the weekly charts, and then I decide, okay, well, what's a 3-day chart going to give me here? Mainly because I'm pressed for time. I would love to be on the 5-minute candles, etc. But to be honest, if you don't understand what the weekly, the monthly are doing, then you shouldn't really be trading below those sort of timeframes. So trading can be, I mean, I've traded some absolute degenerate things at sub 100K market caps this cycle for 10 seconds, right? As well as a trade that, as Craig said before, where we've made a fundamental thesis on Radium because Solana looked like it was going to break out against BTC and against Ethereum. That was one of the best trades we've had all cycle. And okay, we'll dive into the ecosystem. Okay, if you look at Ethereum and Uniswap and whatnot, and that ecosystem in 2021 and what thrived there, okay, well, Radium makes a lot of sense here in 2023. So I took a position, and 45x later, we took profit. So a trade can occur over multiple years as well. What was the second part of your question? Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to completely understand what you mean. Can you say that one more time? Yeah. Yeah, gotcha. The way I approach that is I'll have several buckets. What I mean by that is I've got my long-term portfolio, I've got my medium-term and my short-term. My short-term is going to be my disgusting, dirty meme coins if I want to dabble in that, which I don't so much now because I don't think there's much of a market for it. In regards to go further on that, my bucket, my savings bucket is basically my Bitcoin, which is what I argue with Greeny all the time, whether I'm actually going to sell it and try and swing trade it. So just to explain to people what I like to do, I enjoy swing trading. What I mean by that is obviously buy low, sell high, rinse, repeat, and grow my Bitcoin back.
And try and out-trade Bitcoin returns, right?
Exactly.
That's the point of a swing trade.
So the goal ultimately is to beat that percentage where I could just buy one Bitcoin and leave it for several years and just do nothing, which it would actually be. Probably should have done that.
No, don't say that, Craig.
Probably should have done that maybe, but no, this time's been better. But so that's the way I sort of look at it. I try and grow the main bucket over here, and then I'm using my swing trade bucket, which is over here with the larger size, to grow the long-term bucket here. I think though, with myself personally, I will end up selling that hopefully at the top, and then try and reaccumulate towards the bottom in the bear. I don't know if I answered that very well, though.
Yeah, I think it just changes, right? It's all about risk. It's all about the time in the market. And it's like, okay, and I would agree with Craig. I have elements of high risk, elements of low risk, elements of where I'm like, yeah, I'll plow a silly amount of money into that because I believe in that and I'm happy for even a 50% move. Or, okay, this is more of a long-term bet over here that I like. So yeah, it does ebb and flow. And I think you've got to understand that as you all know, this is a very volatile industry and you need to be adaptable and understand that risk is a range. It's a spectrum, right? You have very high risk stuff, you have low risk stuff. So yeah.
And I think just to quickly follow on from that, just really quickly, I think it's important that if you decide you're a hodler and that big bucket that I spoke about, that you're accruing sats or Bitcoin, and you decide you're not going to sell it for quite some time, you're just going to have to be aware that you're going to see that portfolio fluctuate greatly through the bear and the bull, and you've got to have the intestinal fortitude to be able to handle that, because it's not for everybody. But that's where I think probably education's important, and understanding the zooming out and macro and things like that. Being around like-minded people.
Exactly. I was going to say, and again, not to shield GTG, but being part of a community where us three and the many people here who are in there can just talk about this every day, it makes you feel so much more at ease. So yeah, the question out the back, and then we also have a question at the front as well. Oh, you got one more. You can wait to it.
We'll go to Dr. Alec and we'll talk about post-event networking at Prince Commodore and getting in.
All right.
Where you can answer it, have all your questions.
Yeah, perfect.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yep. Yep. Hi, my name's Alec. I was just wondering, what's your thoughts on the most likely trigger for an alt season this year? Or have you think it's actually passed?
Yep. Should I be honest?
Alt season.
Yeah, the question was like, is there going to be, basically, is there going to be an altcoin season? Like an altcoin season like we saw in 2021? And again, this is why people love our show. I am brutally true. No. In my opinion, no. This cycle has been extremely rotational. We've had the adoption of many chains from Sui, AVAX, Tron, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, Layer 2s on Ethereum, Polygon, Abstract more recently, all of this, right? Within each of those chains, you then have a billion different markets that you can trade. DeFi, NFTs, meme coins, altcoins, yield, whatever it is. So for me, I don't see an altcoin season because we would have seen some of those assets do well. And consequently, following to that, well, Ethereum's done well, Solana's done well, Sui's done well, Hyperliquid's done well, whereas the majority of tokens haven't done well. So that's the first sort of indicator that I like to use. Second, I like to compare the asset against BTC itself. And if that trend, which is very much still lower lows, lower highs, that's showing me very bearish trend and likely never reverses from there. The best chart that I think, and I still see so many influencers get this wrong. They use ETH versus BTC as a chart to track altcoin season. Well, why hasn't all of the altcoins just gone out of like ballistic over the past couple of months as Ethereum has gone ballistic, right? Poor representation of altcoin season. So I like to use a chart which is total 3 minus stablecoins. So it basically total 3 is it's market cap, and it excludes Bitcoin and excludes Ethereum and excludes stable coins. And the key there is understanding that point, because total 3 by itself includes stable coins, and that looks a lot more bullish than altcoins as a market cap. So there's a big difference there. So I like to use that chart as the best representation of that. There's 2 other charts that I like to use as well, others as a market cap and then others as a dominance as well, because others are all crypto assets outside the top 10. So that naturally already excludes BTC, ETH, all those other top altcoins and stablecoins. So those have been lagging all cycle, and maybe we get a breakout. But even if I look at my charts, look, the breakout comes in 2026, and if the market's kind of over by then these are probably going to reject from there and dump, right? So to answer your question truthfully, I personally don't think we'll see an altcoin season, but there will be altcoins, there will be meme coins that maintain strength over time. And unfortunately, they're the ones that you really have to spend a lot of time understanding as a fundamental asset, but also looking at the technicals and going, okay, this looks like an asset that I think will outperform BTC, ETH, Solana, etc. And if it can't outperform the top dogs, probably shouldn't even invest in it personally. Again, not financial advice.
Great answer.
Thanks, guys. That might be a good note on which to end, but a big round of applause for Craig and Greeny once more.
Cheers.